Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charles the Banser, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a fun show for you guys. Before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and sub to the channel. So it looks like my man Jay Williams, who I have not seen in a very long time, actually made a comeback today on ESPN. He was there on Get Up, and he was also on ESPN First Take, and it was actually his comments that he made on ESPN First Take that prompted us to produce today's show. Now, before I get into that, as I spoke about yesterday, about the Clippers getting their best win of the season against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Very, very impressive win. Kawhi Leonard looked spectacular. Ivica Zubac had the best game damn near of his life on his birthday with a 28-point, 20-rebound game, so he was in beast mode. Shout out to him. At the end of that video, I said, I don't expect the Clippers to do much these playoffs. I said they'll be lucky to make it into the playoffs. The reason I said that is because currently they're in the playoff play-in tournament. Right now they're the 7th seed in the Western Conference. They've won 4 games in a row because the Minnesota Timberwolves lost 2 games. So the Clippers now move to the 7th spot. Now the team that they're chasing is the Golden State Warriors, who only have 1 less loss than them. If they can somehow find a way to get ahead of them, then they can make it into the playoffs and totally avoid the play-in tournament. We have to see. I looked at their schedule yesterday, and the Clippers seem to have a very difficult schedule to close out the season there. There's that aspect of it. I also said this. They don't have a chance, and I'm looking at the Western Conference, and you look at the team at the top of the chart, the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have won 4 games in a row, and they only have 12 losses. And they're the best team in the Western Conference. They're the best team, right? I watched that game between them and the Cavs. They played twice. The first game that they played, it was the game of the year. In terms of execution, the way that those guys are playing, both of those teams, you could just tell that these guys are on a totally different level, like a completely different tier, right? And when you look at the team statistics, it's clear to see, which we're going to get into a little bit later. So they were talking about the state of affairs of the Lakers. The Lakers, who, by the way, have won 3 games in a row. Shout out to them. Luka Doncic had another beast mode game. Austin Reeves had another beast mode game there. And they were talking about their chances going forward. And Jay Williams, he was up there with Monica McNutt and Stephen A. Smith and Molly Karam. And he went out there and in no uncertain terms, he said the Lakers should be petrified of facing the Oklahoma City Thunder, because if you face them, it's going to be a bloodbath, and you should do everything in your power to avoid playing them. So those are the comments that we want to get into today. Before we can get into what Jay Will had to say, our video is brought to you by our sponsor, Game Time. One of the things I love the most is making unforgettable memories with family and friends. And one of the things I hate the most is overpaying for tickets only to find out that there was a better deal out there. That's one of the reasons I started using Game Time. Game Time is the easy go-to app for last-minute tickets to sports, concert, and theater events across 60+ states in the US and Canada. Game Time saves me time, money, and stress by curating only the best deals, so I'm not wasting a whole bunch of time scrolling through overpriced tickets. Game Time Picks is my favorite tool. It highlights the best value seats instantly. No more guesswork, no more wasting time. For example, I'm very interested in the game between the Wizards and the New York Knicks. Here's what I like to do. I turn on all-in pricing so I know exactly what I'm paying for upfront. I check Game Time Picks to find out the most valuable deals. And finally, I pick the ticket I want. I choose between the cheapest deal, the great deal, or the amazing deal. Once you select the ticket you want, you can use their panoramic seat view to ensure you know exactly what you're getting before you buy. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and use redeem code CLNS for $20 off. And remember, whenever you support this sponsor, you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So what we want to do now is we want to play what Jay Will had to say. It's only about a minute or so about what he's the Western Conference playoff picture, and then we're going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to that there.
I hear you on the matchup talk. And I think that all makes sense. Okay. I'm going to bring you back to a little athlete thing that we used to say to each other all the time. All you can do is control the controllables, right? Remember how we used to say that all the time?
Yep.
And what's uncontrollable right now is the way all these seeding things are going to play out over the next 14 games. I don't know.
Yep.
But I do know if I'm the Lakers, I'm chasing that 2 seed. I am avoiding OKC at all costs until we get to the Western Conference Finals. I'm also, depending upon where Denver is, I'm trying to avoid them too. So by securing a 2 seed, getting that home court, I think it's just not home court, it's the 2 seed in home court. To me, I think that gives me the best shot of getting to the NBA Finals. Because I'm not trying to play OKC. And actually, even though I know they beat Denver when the Joker and Jamal Murray were playing, I would try to stay away from that. I would rather have those 2 teams play and we meet the winner of that in the Western Conference Finals.
With a Rui Hachimura back and you're fully loaded, I think the only team the Lakers have to worry about is OKC.
I would agree with you, but don't you think it makes sense if you're talking about probability to rather have that just against OKC, right? Like, if I don't have to, I'm not trying to face anybody in a potential Game 7 at their place. I'd much rather face them Game 7 at my place.
Of course.
Right.
So you heard what Jay Williams had to say. Now, I want to get into some of the stats here. First of all, the Oklahoma City Thunder are being led by the probable and most likely MVP of the season this year in SGA. SGA is a bad MFer. He's a bad boy. This dude is a problem. Son is averaging 33 points a game with 5 rebounds, 6.2 assists, a 6'6" point guard, by the way, while shooting 52.6% from the field, 37.1% from the three-point line, 90% from the free throw line, while getting you 1.8 steals, 1 block per game with a plus minus. Get this, his plus minus is 12, which is the best of his career. A plus minus of 12. 12! And he's only getting 2.5 turnovers a game. Those are his numbers. Let's look at the team stats. This is the part where everybody needs to be afraid of this team because they're good. They're really, really good, this team. Like, super good. Okay. The Oklahoma City Thunder that I just said have the best record in the Western Conference. Let's look at some of their team stats. They are number 4 in points per game, scoring 120 a game. They are number 2 in opponents' points allowed. Teams are scoring 107 points in the NBA. I want you guys to think about this. That means that the Oklahoma City Thunder, on average, are beating teams by 13 a game. What does that mean? That means that there have been many games where there have been blowouts, which means that SGA probably sat early in a lot of those games. Which also means that if these games were closer or the margin of victory was closer, his numbers could even be higher than what they are now. So you have that aspect of it. In terms of their defensive rating, they are the number 1 team in defensive rating and 4th in offensive rating. Now, some people have said, hey, man, look, I get that. I get the fact that this guy's playing well. I get it. But when it comes to the playoffs, it's a totally different ball game because experience is going to have to come into the picture and blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. So I don't need to be so worried about them because we got experience. My brother, let me tell you something. I believe that that's something that people tell themselves to console themselves. You can't hang on to that for too long. Do you know why? Number one, if we go with that line of thinking, it then says that the season record is absolutely irrelevant. Well, if that's the case, then none of this matters because experience ultimately pans out. Number one. Number two, it dismisses what we've seen over a wide sample size. When you look at the Lakers, when they had Russell Westbrook, right? They had a lot of experience on that roster, right? What was their record at the end of the season? They didn't even make it into the play-in. They didn't even win 40 games that year. They were a bad team by every metric. The record said so. This team is a good team by every single metric, which means that there's something to this record. There's some truth here. Number one. Number two, look Look at the Lakers last year. Don't they have playoff experience? With Anthony Davis and Paul George? I mean, not Paul George and LeBron and these guys. What happened? Didn't they go home? What about the Denver Nuggets? Don't they have playoff experience? Didn't they go home? What about the Boston Celtics, who have had an extensive amount of playoff experience since Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown got there? Wasn't it just last year that they broke through? So the experience is not a guarantee that you're going to win or you're going to beat a less experienced team. That's number one. Number two, there have been cases where guys that have no experience have done well. Magic Johnson did it. Kobe had been in the league. He hadn't been in the league for that long. He rose to the occasion when it came time to do well with Shaquille O'Neal in the playoffs. So there have been instances where you have young guys that have come in and gotten the ball rolling quickly. LeBron James did it early in his career. So we've had examples of this happening where young guns come in and they do their thing. Now, let's address one final aspect of this. For the people that are saying, oh, well, when you get to the playoffs, a different thing, and OKC and this and this and this, I am 100% certain that these guys haven't watched the Thunder play a lot. Because there's no way you can say with a straight face that you've watched this team, and I've watched them quite a bit this season, and just say, well, when we get to the playoffs, we can beat. Nah, bro. There's no team that I've seen, I said it already, outside of the Cavs that execute as well as this team. These guys are rabid wolves. On offense, they are relentless, and they're young, and they are being led by a guy that is virtually unstoppable and has a supreme level of confidence in himself. The Thunder ain't no joke. If I was supporting any team in the Western Conference outside of the Thunder, I would not feel confident about my chances. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't want to play them. I would do everything in my power to avoid them. These are my thoughts. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. We catch you on the next show and I'm out. Peace.